Today's episode of the Outline Podcast is brought to you by the LGBT Arts and Culture Music Festival. This is a 4-day, 4-night destination festival catering to professional men, women, and non-binaries in the LGBT community. Travelers will enjoy an action-packed weekend consisting of themed parties, live entertainment, celebrity appearances, excursions, all-star comedy night concert, LGBT film festival, financial empowerment seminar, health and wellness workshops, Vanguard Awards, networking, and much more. All members of the LGBT community are invited to celebrate life, love, friendship, freedom of expression, pride, and unity in beautiful Punta Cana, Dominican Republic, May 25th through 29th of this year. You got time to save them ducats and start that deposit. To register, go to www.lgbtmusicfest.com or call 404-756-8433. Don't forget to mention the Outline Podcast and your host, Kevin Dwayne, sent you. Let's start the show.
The Outline with Kevin Dwayne. Kevin Dwayne. The Outline. With Kevin Dwayne. The Outline. With Kevin Dwayne. This is the Outline with Kevin Dwayne. Kevin Dwayne. Kevin Dwayne with Kevin Dwayne.
Last night I was chilling, minding my business for the most part. I decided to swipe through Tinder for a little bit, left, occasional right, left, another right. So I ended up matching with this guy. Shortly after, I log out of the app and then you get the little notification like, oh, you got a match. So I'm like, let me check it out. This guy was actually quite handsome, good looking guy. But what I didn't do was check out his profile. And so I ended up investigating a little bit more to see what I could figure out, because I was just going off the shallow end, like, okay, this nigga's fine, I'd fuck, cool, like, what else is there to know? And so I see on there that it says 3 things. It says 10-incher, which who has a problem with that? Not me. And then it said Fin Dom, Findom. So I'm like, what does that mean? I recognize the word dom because I think like, dominatrix or dominant person. So I'm like, okay, let me look this up. So I Google this shit. It stands for financial domination. Listen, I was like, okay, I need to investigate this a little bit more. Does it mean that this is somebody who's going to pay all my bills? Or am I supposed to, like, what does this mean? Like, what does financial domination mean? So let's investigate more. Find a Wikipedia page, and all of a sudden, a whole new world opened up to me. This is obviously rich people shit, and I can't relate, nor am I interested in doing it. So according to Wikipedia, financial domination, also known as money slavery, is a fetish lifestyle, in particular a practice of dominant submissive, where usually a male submissive or money slave, pay pig, human ATM, or cash piggy will give gifts and money to a financial female or male dominant, also known as a money mistress, findom, money dom, cash master. Listen, no, already. It's a huge no. As soon as you said money, fuck no. Second part. The relation may often be accompanied by other practices of BDSM and female or male domination, like erotic humiliation, but there may be virtually no further intimacy between the individuals. So what the fuck you're saying to me is, this is a nigga who has people sign over their money, like they buy him gifts. They send him money, their bank accounts, because I Googled some more. People do this, like rich people. It can be very dangerous. And the whole idea is to free yourself from the worries of money. Listen, I don't have enough to be worried about it. Fuck that. So basically, this nigga, because it was a nigga, there are people out there who send him money just because. And dick is not included. So it's not even sex work. It's not even escorting. Like, it's just saying, hey, I just want to give you my money. Fuck all of that. Like, if I wanted to give my money away with nothing in return, I would just have children. Like, this makes no fucking sense. But hey, I'm not going to shame anyone's fetishes because I have my own freaky shit that I like to do. But this ain't it. So, as you can probably guess, I went ahead and unmatched with him really quickly because I didn't want to give any ideas because I'm not signing over no bank accounts. I ain't doing none of that shit. Fuck all of that. I've never heard of this shit, ever. Financial domination. Look it up. It's some crazy shit. There's articles on it because people actively do it. And apparently it's all about the wealthy. It's people who have like coin, like long coin, where you just don't miss certain amounts of money. And the whole point is to free you because money has too much power over us and it's supposed to be freeing. But it ain't freeing that motherfucking dominant. They out there buying Apple Watches and shit, eating that fucking Ruth Chris and shit, while you freeing yourself, and you don't get no ass? Oh, no, that ain't gonna work. Like, what's the point? What is the point? Never a dull moment in my world. Never a dull moment. Oh my God, whatever. So last week, I told you guys that I was gonna go to this round table over the weekend, and mission complete. I actually went, and it was interesting. It wasn't as bad as I thought it would be as far as like what I mentioned about insecurities and possessiveness. I was actually shocked that there were some people who actually agreed with me on some things because, you know, I'm kind of left with my shit. You know, I come up with some stuff that sometimes I don't even know that I believe sometimes to be so to the left. But it was cool. There were a total of 10 of us. And the whole idea was talking about being relationship material. So it began with asking ourselves, what is being relationship material? And do we feel like we are that? And I went first because, well, hell, I like to talk. If you haven't gathered that, I have a fucking podcast where I talk to motherfuckers in mystery land every week. So I like to talk. So I ended up starting it off. And it was interesting because I mentioned my views. If you remember my episode Out for the Count, I talked about how I feel like I have too many things that could be deal breakers for other people, i.e. me being somewhat agnostic and also veganism, and then how I look at polygamy and monogamy. Those things tend to make people look the other way. But it doesn't necessarily mean I'm not relationship material. I'm perfectly capable of being in a relationship, but it would take someone of a certain standard. Now, I was actually pleasantly surprised that more than 2 other men in that group were like, oh yeah, no, like agnostic is cool, like not a big deal. And they were cool with the whole like polygamy thing too. Like, hey, as long as we're being honest and talking to each other, that's all that matters. Although I do know that people tend to say things that they actually can't actually perform in real life. So that could have been that. But I was actually very pleased to hear that, you know, there's some other motherfuckers who can actually break out of the socialization that we're supposed to be one way. Like, we're only supposed to be monogamous and only supposed to be, you know, one and one, blah, 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 blah. You know, the whole thing. So that was cool. Some other things I took away from it were the idea that it's an uphill climb. Like, it is an uphill climb. Like, there are so many layers to every person. And for once, it was very nice not to be in an echo chamber. I know that I have friends who I am very well aligned with. Most of the people I'm friends with, we have a lot of the same viewpoints, and meaning we are equally yoked, as they would say in the Bible. Like, there's not a feeling of judgment of like, or like, we're aligned, and that's why we're friends. But it is nice to talk to people who you can be objective with and they can be objective with you and look from the outside in and hear different opinions. And I think that's a good theme to add to 2018, is to have those uncomfortable conversations with people who don't always agree with you, because you get to see the other side, get another perspective, and then also challenge your own view. I mean, that's how you grow as a person. You can't, like, cognitive dissonance is so real. And I actively want to make sure that I am growing as a person and always thinking. Like, critical thinking is so important to me. That's how you push to new levels. So it was nice to sit at a table of 10 men and hear these different views, you know, some aligning, some completely on the right, and hear different experiences. And it was very nice. For the most part, everybody there was over the age of 30. There were a couple youngins there, but they were like 28, so not a big deal, right? But most of us were over 30. And it was just nice to hear experienced people talk about, you know, the relationships. Of course, you do recognize people's triggers and things that they have issues with. There's still the issue of possessiveness and insecurity and jealousy, anger. There are things that are always going to come out in the wash. But for the most part, there were experienced men there. So it was a good experience. I hope it's not the last one. I think conversations like that need to continue to happen, because that's how you grow. So hopefully that host will have more of those, or maybe I'll start doing it. Granted, it won't be a brunch. Y'all niggas can come over and bring something to drink, and some snacks, but I'm not making a meal for a bunch of people, especially because I don't eat meat or dairy. So that makes life really, really hard for others. You know, I'll have my black bean burger, you know, and shit. But I don't know what y'all gonna eat. But you're more than welcome to come over and we can talk about it more. But I think those conversations are good because it always keeps your feet to the fire, so you can kind of realize what you're working up against. And I left feeling like, okay, dating is a challenge for everybody. And a lot of people are feeling these same things. And I knew that, but it was nice to be reminded and hear the different stories. And then also kind of figure out ways that you can kind of adjust yourself to make it work. So I don't know. It was a good conversation and I really enjoyed myself. So shout out to Philip for having that. It was a great time. And yeah. And it was nice to not be in an echo chamber. And speaking of echo chambers, I'm working on putting myself in more uncomfortable conversations and hearing the other side. Like, one thing about me is I'm not a big fan of news, or I don't like watching the news. I feel like it's depressing. I feel like it's sensationalized, and you only know what they want to tell you. There's a lot of things that control us, and it gets out of hand and we don't always have the truth. So I've been kind of anti-news, but at the same time, I'm at a place where I kind of want to be in the know. Even if it's not the truth, I want to still get what's being put out into the world. And I also want to be able to watch multiple sources and put together my own story. Once again, critical thinking. So I've added MSNBC to my rotation because that seems like a safe channel for me to watch. That doesn't feel overly sensation. They have great shows on there, and I enjoy AM Joy, which is a great show in the morning. And it was nice to kind of be in the know of what's going on with the president. And then they had this great segment on white evangelicals and how they have this idea of a mulligan, where Trump is pretty much being pardoned because they feel like it's their way of punching back at the Obama administration, because they felt like Obama was a bully because, you know, how dare you give black people and gay people and women rights? That's crazy. Like, take away our privilege, you're abusing us. You're a bully. So the fact that Trump is a vile human being by every sort of the word means little to them because they feel like this is the ultimate payback. And it was a great piece on that to hear and just kind of put that in perspective, because that really is what's happening right now. Like, we can ignore that he's trash, like absolute trash, because we don't want you niggas to have rights. Like, we tired of this shit. We want our privileges to stay intact. We want the world to be Christian. We want to be able to say that people are going to hell in peace. And how dare you be treated like a human? Like, nah, fuck that. We don't want that. So sometimes you got to hear those things that are hard to digest, but it strengthens your viewpoint, if anything. And it just keeps you in the know of things. So I'm really working on allowing in more alternative opinions and perspectives without getting angry or without having to debate it. But I will call out some bullshit though. Don't get me wrong. You can't let. That's the thing about having conversation. It's not so much everyone just stating their points and that's that. The whole idea is to challenge things that are problematic and things that actually aren't right. They just aren't right. Like they're absolutely wrong. Like if someone's being a sexist, misogynist, homophobic, whatever, I do believe that it's another person's job to say, hey, like this is why you're wrong and this is where you're being a hypocrite. Like, because if you don't, how does that behavior get checked? So there is time and place. Time and place. So all I have to say is I'm working on not being in echo chambers, and this weekend brought a lot of that out. So Sunday night, what they call the biggest night in music, which I will have to actually debate because the Grammys, though we put them on such a high pedestal, they're still for the most part boring as fuck. Like it just they just are. But I guess because it's everyone's music, you know, it's country, gospel, jazz, spoken word, comedy, you know, everything, then it's like the biggest night. Fair enough. But they're boring for the most part. So I watched the Grammys because I had to see SZA, Cardi B, all my underdogs I wanted to see. You know, I was like, all the people that I felt had amazing years, I just want to see them have their moment. Because though I do feel that we as Black people hold the Grammys to too high of a pedestal, just like we do the Oscars and Golden Globes, it is nice to see people get their just due when they get their just due. So first things first, congratulations to Kendrick Lamar and Bruno Mars. They both cleaned up at the show, like cleaned up. Bruno Mars was on his Michael Jackson, Lauryn Hill, Adele, Beyonce, you know, superstar status with all, like he cleaned up. He ended up getting, I believe, a total of 7. Now, it's weird, like some articles say 7, but then he's only holding 6 in the picture, and then so he at least won 6, but a lot of outlets are saying 7 because there was one award, I guess, that, you know, was one of like not the popular ones, but he cleaned up. So I'm very happy for him, but I think what I'm tired of are the Grammy rules and how they find ways to shut people out. And the biggest upset of the night was, for me, was SZA not winning Best New Artist and Alicia Cara winning. Number one, I actually enjoy Alicia Cara, but because of a loophole and the Grammys' weird rules, she should not have been in the Best New Artist category. Like, she just shouldn't have. Like, her album came out in 2016, like early 2016. Here, the song came out in 2015. If anything, she should have been nominated last year and won last year, not this year. Like, last year belonged to Julia Michaels, or is it Julia Michaels? Whatever, the girl who sings Issues. That was a big year for her. Khalid and SZA. Those are the 3 who literally shifted music last year. Like, shifted. Yes, Cara was on that stage track with Zed, which was an amazing song, but it didn't shift anything. Those 3 artists that were on there moved everything forward. They have unique sounds. They changed the game to the point that people were talking about them. They had way higher Metacritic scores. Like, they had great bodies of work. They were the real contenders. She should not have been in that group. And it was upsetting, like, to see her win, because it was like, yes, I like her. She's a great artist. She can sing. She's talented. But she shouldn't have been nominated this year. She just should not have been nominated for that. Any other one, sure, but not for that. And I get because she was on the Logic track about suicide, and I get it. But still, she did not push the pendulum forward like the other 3 artists. So it was an upset. I really wanted SZA to get it. Natural Bias, because Control is an amazing album. Absolutely. And it should have been nominated for Album of the Year. It should have been. It's an amazing album from beginning to end. So that sucked. And though the Carters have like 43 Grammys and they're not really hurting for them, it was awkward seeing Jay-Z lose all 8 nominations. It was an awkward moment because it felt like a setup. Like you have the Carters sitting in the front with their daughter, all dressed up, and just sitting there being Pat, just losing the whole night. So it was a weird feeling of kind of like, okay, the Grammy administration is trash because you guys, 4 for 4 is an amazing album. Amazing, phenomenal album. His most vulnerable. He could have gotten one fucking Grammy, you know what I mean? And so I kind of see why he pulled out. He was supposed to perform. He was going to do this whole hip hop segment that was going to involve like past, present, and future people. It was going to be amazing. Allegedly, it was sources have said. But he pulled out 2 weeks ago because he said he just wanted to enjoy it. But I've also heard that he pulled out because he knows how the Grammys are. Like they've been, it's a game, and he doesn't like the way they've treated his wife, Beyonce, and how she jumped through a bunch of hoops and they still shaded her for Adele and other artists. So he's like, I'm not about to give you this performance, this amazing performance for you to just go ahead and shade my work. It's a lot like how they did Michael Jackson for Bad. After Thriller, they treated Bad like it was a flop, and it sold millions, and he was nominated for 8 Grammys, and they didn't give him not one. And he gave one of his best performances on the Grammys of Man in the Mirror that night. It was a weird moment. It makes you cringe. And I felt like they were doing that to the Carters. It's like this kind of thing like, yeah, you're this huge superstar family, but we can still treat you like you ain't shit, even though you're bringing ratings to the show. Mind you, the ratings on this year's Grammys were the lowest ever, but still, it was hard watching that. But at the same time, they have 43 Grammys in that family, so it is what it is. Blue is amazing. I love watching her eat her snacks and pretty much be a 6-year-old. Like she's so cute. She's so cute. Beyonce, I feel like she's reaching the next level of her adulthood. She is now a full-fledged mother of 3. Beyonce is 36? She'll be 37 this year. She's moving to that next level of just grown-ass woman shit. Like, even the way she's dressing. Like, that outfit was straight up church mother going to a funeral with a little sexiness. But even the way the clothes she's starting to wear, she's moving into that next level glamour look, if that makes sense. Like, we're probably going to see way more just grown-ass woman be. Like, she's still gonna be sexy, she's still gonna be revealing, but it's like she's moving into that next kind of, I can't help but not think about Diana Ross. She's moving into that next grown-ass woman level. Like, she's gonna dress more and more like Tina now, you know? So, those are my notes there. And one other thing about the Best New Artist thing. So, the weird thing about present time, we have these weird rules of what qualifies as the Best New Artist. Fun fact. Whitney Houston was refused Best New Artist in 1984, I believe, because she was on one track with Jermaine Jackson. And the committee said she couldn't qualify for Best New Artist because she had already recorded before. The rules then were you couldn't record with anybody. It had to be your very first recording or some shit. And that was their way of shutting her out from winning Best New Artist back then. And now you can come out in fucking 2010 and be nominated for Best New Artist in 2018. Ain't that some shit? But whatever. The Grammys were the Grammys. Like, they were whatever. I love Cardi B. She definitely got her shine on in a Bruno Mars performance that was kind of lackluster. Like, Bruno Mars himself was just like, whatever. He was like, I'm here. But I looked at that performance as a platform for Cardi. It was all about her. From her outfit, from her placement, the fact that she was able to mix in part of her verse from Bartier Cardi into the second part of her coming out. That performance was all about her and getting her in a higher form. So I was happy for that. It was amazing. Kendrick Lamar's performance was political as usual. It was good. I don't really have any other highlights of the night. SZA was okay. I love SZA live, but her performances on shows don't really do her justice. I don't know what it is. Is it because I think the placement of these choirs or whatever, it's not working for her on award shows. But I went to her concert. It was dope as fuck. Like, she's great live. Even if you watch her performance on Tidal, there's from one of their concerts back like a couple years ago. She's dope live, but the things she's doing on these award shows, it's just not working. She can't really get the hype out. But it was a cute performance, but it just didn't really drive anything home like I would have liked. And yeah, that's it. So yeah, the Grammys. What's next? Super Bowl, which uh, who cares about Super Bowl? Like that's just that. So yeah. So that's enough for what's going on, and the main conversation or topic of this week. I just want to talk about routines. Don't sleep on having a routine. One of the biggest things that I had to be called out on by my therapist was the fact that I could never stick to a routine. And she challenged me to figure out what that came from. She was just like, did you ever have a moment in your life where you had an authority, like a parent, who forced a routine on you, and you hate it so much to the fact that now you feel like even if you're giving your own routine to yourself, you feel like you have to rebel against it. And I was like, come through, you better unpack my shit. Come through, unpack it. Unpack it. I'm not moving anytime soon. So it really kind of made me think outside the box on why I can never stick to a routine. But what would happen was I would lose, like for instance, in all aspects, like I lost weight. I had a routine, I committed to it, I was able to lose weight, get to a size that I enjoyed. But then at a certain point, I stopped that routine, stopped weighing myself, stopped caring about what I ate, just got real free, and then I end up gaining weight back. And then I was upset about gaining weight back, and I had to start over and lose it again. It wasn't until this last go round a few months ago where I lost the weight again. I said, you know what? I don't want to go back. And if it's up to me, I will not go back because I'm going to stick to a routine. I stick to my intermittent fasting. I stick to the way I eat. I'm working out. And I stick to the schedule to the point that it's just a part of my lifestyle. It's a lifestyle. It's not a temporary thing. And what's great about it is I don't have the depression of feeling like I let myself go, because that's the worst feeling of just going through life and not really taking inventory of what's going on, and then all of a sudden you gain this weight back and you're like, how did I get here? It's because I was careless. I didn't check in with myself. Now I weigh myself once a week. Just once. Not every day, not just once a week. It just gives me an idea of if I'm going up, if I'm going down, if I'm maintaining. And there's nothing wrong with that. You're just keeping inventory. I still eat within those certain hours of the day. You know, I'm still watching my sugar intake, and, you know, when I'm really binging on foods and clearing packs of Oreos, like you can't always do that. And if I am, I need to work out. And it's much better. Another example is household stuff. I was good with just, you know, like letting clothes pile up. Like, you know, I wash clothes and not hang them. I would, you know, just kind of let things just be, and just, you know, it gets really, really junky, and then now you have a cluttered space. Well, at the end of the year, last year, I decided to clean my apartment up. I talked about it on the podcast. I cleaned my apartment top to bottom. Absolutely just top to bottom, folded everything. Everything has a proper place. And what I enjoyed about it was this. Well, after I was done, I was exhausted, and I actually hated every moment of it because I'm like, I want to be done with this. If only I did a little bit of cleaning every day, or set a time to just routinely go through and hang something up and fold it or wash it. It wouldn't be as painful as having to do it all at once. When I have guests over, I wouldn't have to exhaust myself trying to clean up and hide shit before they come over to make my place look presentable. So this whole month, I've maintained what I did last month. Every day I'm picking up stuff. When I take clothes off, I'm putting them where they belong. If I'm washing stuff, I hang it up immediately. It takes less time. So you're talking 15 minutes versus 8 hours of cleaning an entire mess that I've made. Dusting every other day, vacuuming, doing little things here and there to make things work. It works in my work life too. I'm incriminating myself, but I think early last year, it was a point where I got so disillusioned with my job that I became like really frustrated. I felt like I wasn't making enough money and I felt like I was being used. And so I was kind of not half-assing it, but like three-quarter assing it. You know, I was doing enough to make sure things were happening, but I wasn't doing the best I could do. But then it got to a point right before I went on vacation where I had to play catch up because then I wouldn't be there. So while I was able to maintain my three-quarter assed work, if I was gone, it could have fell to shit because there were so many things that I would have to do at the last minute to fix them. And so I got everything, when I changed my attitude, I got everything up to par. And now I have a routine of just doing the shit complete as I go through it because it won't be a bunch of catch up. Now everything is in order as it should be, and I feel a lot better. I don't have that stress. I don't have that pressure. I don't have that nagging feeling that, oh, this could be done. It could be so much better. See, so it works in so many aspects of life. It goes into paying bills, you know, paying down debt. One of the best pieces of advice I got was actually from Sensei Raven, who we mention each other on each other's podcasts so damn much. We just need to have a damn show together at this point. Like, we talk about each other so much, like, I know, but we were talking and he was telling me, I hope I'm not, I mean, I can imagine you being upset about me saying this, Raven, but he told me that he, when he pays down his bills, he pays in increments like throughout the pay period. So if he has a bill due every 15th, he'll pay like $15 one day and then $50 another day and $20 the next day, whatever the amount is. And what happens is you end up paying it down quicker because you're always adding money to the principal balance of whatever it is. And I was like, that's actually a great idea. And it doesn't feel as exhausting as just paying like a credit card. Instead of paying just the $50 minimum every month, you're paying like every time you like, oh, I could put like $20 down. Then the next week put another 20. And all of a sudden you're paying a little bit more and you're knocking off the balances a lot quicker. It's a routine. And I'm seeing how this works in all aspects of life. And it couldn't be me just getting older, but I'm learning not to resent the routine. Don't resent the routine. They're important. They're there for a reason. You have to have order. You have to have planning. You have to reach goals. You have to do certain things. And it's planning is important. And I think it just hits all aspects of life. So what is something that you can work on as far as your routine? What is something that you want to add? Starting now, starting today, after listening to this podcast, what is something you want to create a routine for? Are you going to spend 15 minutes meditating? Are you going to spend 15 minutes cleaning your place every day? Working out, you're going to add a routine for that. What is something that you want to achieve this year that you can apply a routine to? Because let me tell you, as someone who's experiencing this right now, it feels so much better to feel like I have a control of everything and I have things in order. I don't feel as much stress because I know that I'm dedicating time each day to get what I need to get done versus letting shit fall astray and then trying to go on some fat diet, overwork myself, spend countless hours doing something that I resent versus doing a little bit each day and over time reaching a goal. So don't knock the routine. And yeah, that's that. So a quick little call to action. This has been the Outline Podcast. Make sure you're taking your favorite quote from the show, put in the Outline Podcast hashtag. When you put that quote up on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, please tag me. Leave your comments on SoundCloud and KevinDwayne.com. You can leave it in the Facebook page as well. Share with your friends. Make sure you are leaving ratings and comments on Apple Podcasts because that's how we go up in the ranks. I love you all. Thank you all for the shout outs. I also want to highlight Gay Side Stories just celebrated their 1 year anniversary, or Trilificent, because he runs that show. Shout out to the solo bloggers. We know that this is not easy work to just talk to yourself for a bit of time. So shout out to you on your 1 year anniversary. I love this week's show. It's so good. It's funny. It's called What Was Said featuring Huss. And I cracked up. And then also another great podcast that I listened to this week is So Much to Say with Craig Stewart. He was on the show earlier this year when we talked about Pretty Privilege. He interviewed T.S. Madison's mom. That was such an endearing touching, and hilarious conversation. So if you check out the So Much to Say podcast, please listen to that episode. It was so good. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed it. And also, I want to shout out Black Boy Blitz, another new podcast. Their marketing is on point and on fleek and all that good stuff. And they do a great job at highlighting other podcasts, and they definitely have the ideal community down pat. So check all of those out. And of course, The Healing Space with Sensei Raven, another amazing show. And the list goes on. There is some great content out there, you guys. Some great content. And you just gotta have your ears ready to listen to it. Yeah, that's that. So I hope you guys enjoy your week. I'll talk to you guys next week. Peace out.